Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back once again for another video of DIY investing. I'm going to try and make this one a little bit shorter today because I have lost my voice. I was with my family this weekend and we rode some roller coasters, so my voice is not currently with us at the moment. So we're going to try and make this one short by going over analyzing Bitcoin, showing you some things that I'm watching with that, and then we're also going to be diving in and looking at the total market cap dominance for Bitcoin as well as the altcoins. There's a couple key factors that I want to point out with what's going on in the market, and so we're going to dive in today and I'm going to show you guys a full round analysis with the current state of the cryptocurrency market and where I think it's headed from here. If you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more content like the one provided for you here. If you're somebody that likes my analysis and wants to get more access to signals or even just post your own technical analysis inside of a community, hit the invitation link in the description of this video and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Okay guys, let's jump right in the video today. Starting off this video, we're going to first take a look at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin hasn't really done a whole lot since my last update, but we have had a nice little reaction from support here. Now, if we dive in here, we're going to see that we've been chopping around in this range. This range ranges from about right here, make this a little bit lower, about right there to approximately there. And we've been consolidating inside of this range back and forth, but we haven't really had a significant break one way or the other. The bulls have made an attempt to break out of here, but we got rejected back onto support. And so for me, this is just some more sideways consolidation. Nothing really major happening up to this point, but what I can say is based off of some things that I'm watching, I can say that I've told you guys I'm expecting one more low. Now, to go with that low, it looks as if we could be making a head and shoulder formation right here. Now, I find that this head and shoulder is less likely to play out just because it's coming at the bottom of a correction. And usually you see head and shoulder formations coming at the top of a trend. And so for this pattern, I'm finding that this is a little bit less likely to play out, but it is something to pay attention for. Now, I have been telling you guys I'm expecting one more leg down. And so let's drop it to a monthly time frame. Let's remove the drawing tools momentarily. Let's see what's unfolding from a little bit bigger perspective. Now, obviously, this was our first support at about 9,200. And then we sold through that. And so now we're sitting above our next support, which is about, 77.50 right there, somewhere around that range, about 7,750. But to round it up, let's go with 7,800. So realistically, our support's at $7,800, and that's where we're currently consolidating. Now, if we go for one more leg down, I want to see us close convincingly below this $7,800 mark, because that to me is going to be confirmation that more downside is upon us. But until we close below 78, then this is support technically, and so we need to watch and see what's going to happen. Now let's drop it back down to a shorter time frame once again. Let's take a look here. Now 7,800 is about right here. So basically support of this current range. If we close below 7,800, then I'm obviously going to be bearish because not only is that support of this range, but that's also pretty significant monthly support. Now on the monthly, we don't have a really significant amount of support until back down to my next targets of about 6,400 all the way down to about 6K. And so that's what I would be watching out for from a monthly perspective. Now, for me personally, I'm not necessarily expecting it to go all the way back down that low. Now, my next targets are at 7,600, which might be a little bit premature for this next dip, but it's okay, guys. I told you guys my trading plan for how I was going to trade this dip. Anywhere from a 30 to a 40% correction was what I was targeting. And so my last target's actually even deeper than a 40% correction. And so for that reason, I'm just going to stick to my trading plan. Now, I know that I had made a video talking about we need to be aware of the bearish perspective, and I still feel as if that's strongly the case. But I want to point out is the fact that I told you guys from the initial rally up, before we even had this big, long triangle consolidation, I told you guys that I was going to be looking to accumulate anywhere from a 30 to a 40% correction. And now that we have that, I've already pretty much laddered in all of my entries. My last one's at 76. And I've told you guys that even though I think we have potential for a little bit more downside than my last target of 76, I'm going to be sticking to my trading plan because I made the trading plan all the way back up in this blow off top phase. And thus far, it's led me to a pretty accurate way of accumulating this dip. And so I'm just going to stick to it. You know, one of the biggest rules you can ever learn inside of trading is always stick to a plan and make sure you trade it all the way through. If you have a plan in place, you're going to be a lot more profitable. Even if you're wrong some of the times, it does pay a big price for you guys to just stick to your trading plan. You're going to be profiting far greater if you do so, because you're going to be learning a lot more. And so for that reason, I am going to continue to stick with my trading plan, even if we drop a little bit lower. And if we drop back down to the 6K floor, guys, you can bet that I'm going to be looking to add some more money from cash reserves that I have, just because that's a pretty significant drop. And I didn't think that we'd get back down to that 6K support floor. So if we do have an opportunity to buy there, any extra cash that I have on hand, I'm going to be deploying it into the markets. Even aside from what bids I've accumulated down in this dip already, I would be watching and waiting for, if we do hit that 6K, I would want to add more to my position sizing. And so this is kind of just what I'm watching, guys. This is my plan that I'm trading thus far. You guys know what I'm watching with Bitcoin. Now, for me personally, before we wrap up the Bitcoin update, this just looks like we're finishing out one final ABC correction. Now, the C leg always has 5 impulse waves down. So 1, 3, and then 5. And so this is kind of what I'm watching out for. I just expect one more leg back down, and then that'll be the last sell-off before we start the next bull cycle up. Now, out of that bull cycle, I don't know if we're going to immediately start impulsing or whether we might get a little bit of a rounded accumulation bottom before we start going higher. But either way, guys, I don't expect that this retrace is going to be long-lived, and I would expect that this last leg down is going to be bought up pretty quickly. Even if we only go back up here to about the same range of consolidation before making higher highs, I can say that the initial sell-off will probably be bought up pretty quick. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for. But overall, guys, not much has changed. Now, let's actually dive into the dominance perspective, both Bitcoin and altcoins. All right, so to start off this, we're going to be first taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance. Now, this is a chart that I made a couple days ago, posted on Twitter, but I wanted to actually share it with you guys on YouTube because this is really my pride and joys, everything that I'm growing here on my YouTube community. Now, what we can see here, this is the all-time graph of the Bitcoin dominance. Now, for you guys that do not know what the Bitcoin dominance is the total market share that Bitcoin owns by percentage. And so right now we're about 66, which means Bitcoin holds 66% of the entire market cap is just inside of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is obviously the most dominant crypto. The other coins are going to follow what Bitcoin does. Now, maybe that changes once the dominance goes down to a pretty low significant margin. But up to that point, it hasn't. So this is what we trade off of because the alts are going to follow this chart closer than most anything because this shows all of the data that we have. Now, for Bitcoin dominance, we're going to see that from the point of charting, and we actually started keeping data on altcoins back in 2013, we can see that we'd have been in a downtrend inside of Bitcoin dominance. We've had lower lows and lower highs all the way through here. And that's indicated by this black trend line. This is the strong trend line that we have that's been holding us throughout the entirety of the Bitcoin and altcoin pairs. And so for that reason, I wanted to point out it's very apparent to me that we are in a downtrend. Now, what we finally ended up seeing was this breakout of this, little downtrending channel. And then this is where we saw our big alt season explosion. Altcoins rallied, a lot of hopium, altcoins rallied, a ton of euphoria, and it was a very profitable cycle. And now from that point, from the very top of the market in Bitcoin, the Bitcoin dominance has just been trending up. Now, right here was when we started our bull market. It was about 50% dominance. That was really when the bull run started for Bitcoin. And altcoins have continued to pair and bleed back down. Altcoins have continued to bleed back down. And so what I'm watching out for currently is the fact, from an Elliott wave perspective, we finished 1, we finished a 3, and now we're working on the final 5 wave impulse. Now, in the final 5 wave, it appears to me we finished a 1, we finished a 3, and now we're retracing into the 4, about to go for one more final 5 wave impulse. Now, that final 5 wave is going to be the 5 of the 5. That'll be the last impulse of this Elliott wave cycle back up. And it's also going to take us right back into that resistance zone that I've been watching for. Now, this is the long-term key log resistance amongst the Bitcoin dominance. And this has been the downtrending channel that's really took us down the entire time altcoins have been around. And we've yet to retest that inside of this bull move. And so I am expecting us to have one more pretty parabolic run inside of Bitcoin dominance. and that's going to take us up to about this 79% Bitcoin dominance. That's going to be my target for this next move, 79% Bitcoin dominance. And I'm actually going to dive in a little bit later after this chart, and I'm going to tell you guys why this is my target. But realistically, guys, this seems like the most logical target for me. It coexists nicely with our descending resistance that's held us throughout the entirety of altcoins. And it also lines up nicely with about this bottom support or previous support on this scale. And so this is what I'm going to be watching out for. Realistically, it appears like we're going to have one more strong impulse up because we have had this trend. It's continued to get steeper and steeper, but this is our new trend. This one wave started our new trend. And so realistically, we have probably about one more drop before we come back down and retest this trend line before impulsing higher into the cycle. Now, I know a lot of people are calling for the Bitcoin dominance to top out right here, and they have been. I know that I was telling you guys about that right here. But after further analyzation of the markets, I've come to the conclusion that I'm actually a little bit more bullish on the Bitcoin dominance. I think that the Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to trend higher, and it's going to bleed altcoins along the ride with it. Now, with that being said, guys, I think that this is a very good opportunity for everybody that may be watching this video. Even if you're somebody that's maybe bag holding losses amongst some of the altcoins, I know that I am personally. Even if you're holding some short-term losses with some of your longer-term portfolio bags, it's okay, because I think that with this next leg up, it's going to take alts for one more leg down, and then that will be the end of this altcoin failure that we've seen since the start of the market, just over 2 years of downward action inside the altcoins. And I think we're very close to the end of that before the Bitcoin dominance starts to top out and we have another one of these big sizable dumps. But until then, I'm waiting for one more impulse higher to 79%. Now let's actually dive into the altcoin dominance so I can share with you guys why I came up with this target. Okay, so here we are. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I've made this comparison a couple different times. I just recently talked about this in one of my last updates, and I made a video talking about this specific comparison about a couple months ago. And so this is something I've been watching for a while. I'm honestly the only person that's found this pattern and shared it amongst Twitter. So as of right now, I'm the only person that knows to have been talking about this. But if you guys maybe know of somebody else that's been talking about this pattern, I'd love to hear about that. I'd love to hit them up and maybe communicate with them back and forth. But this is something that I've been watching for the last couple months. Now, why are these numbers significant for you guys that may have not known what this pattern is or haven't seen my last updates? Every bottom of the altcoin dominance before we have a strong impulse in new alt season, as some would say, we have a significant low, right? And these significant lows are accurate and follow the Fibonacci sequence. Now, the Fibonacci number sequence, let's pull up an example. Each new term in the Fibonacci sequence is generated by adding the previous two terms, by starting with 1 and 2, and the first 10 terms will be 1, 2, so 1 plus 2, no. So 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13, 13 plus 8 is 21, and so on and so forth. And so this is the way that the Fibonacci sequence is calculated. Now let's see an example of the Fibonacci sequence in nature. Now you guys know this pattern. It's the spiral that you see in almost every living thing. I know that if you looked at yourself and analyzed your own body, you'd be able to find a number of different examples of the Fibonacci sequence. Just take a look at your hand. Opening and closing, this is the Fibonacci sequence itself. And so you're going to be able to find it everywhere in nature. Now, this is a pattern that I've actually found a while ago, and I thought it was so interesting how altcoins are actually following the linear growth curve of the Fibonacci sequence. Now, the thing about altcoins is they start here at about 5% dominance, and then they bottom at about 4% in this first little move. And so it's not totally accurate. It doesn't follow the Fibonacci 100%, but I guarantee if we had enough data that went back further, it would. Because you remember, guys, the altcoins started from nothing, and so they have to follow the same trend. So way back here in the day, before we even had, if we would have had more data to show, it would have started at 1, and then it would have bottomed at 2, and then from 2 it would have bottomed here at 3, and then that's when it would have started this next cycle. But the thing is, we just don't have enough data to prove that it was following the Fibonacci sequence way back then as well, but it had to have. If it's following it up to this point, it had to have started there, because it only could start it at one place, 0 and 1, or 1 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 5 and then 8 and so on and so forth. And so that's the way that the Fibonacci sequence works. Now, I love this pattern. There's really only one thing that I wanted to point out with this pattern, is just the fact that the altcoin bottom, every time we've had an altcoin bottom before a massive alt season, we bottom at one of the Fibonacci equivalents. So 3, right here it was 5, right here it was 8, right here, this one was a little bit different. It bottomed, technically the very, very bottom was at 12. But the average of both of these three bottoms, these three support and resistance zones, was actually 13. And so it does follow the Fibonacci sequence nicely. So 3, 5, 8, 13. And now if we take the last equivalent of alt season and then apply it to future prices, we're going to see that the next equivalent for alt season appears to be 21%. Now, this should be the bottom for the altcoins. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. We could do something like we did back here, where we bottomed at maybe like 22%, or maybe we dropped down to 20%. It doesn't have to be 100% exact. All it has to do is continue to follow the average growth cycle of the Fibonacci sequence. And so this is kind of what I'm watching out for, guys. The fact that we've continued to play out this pattern thus far, this is actually how I came to my target for Bitcoin dominance, was after following the altcoins, because the altcoins are following Fibonacci. It would make sense that they're going to continue to do so as they continue to grow and fractal out in their market cycles. And so this is the number that I'm going to be watching out for. Now, realistically, guys, we have this pretty major resistance level. Let's make it a little bit bigger. This was our pretty major resistance level. Previously, we were trending above this, and then we sold through with this initial sell-off here. And so right now, what I'm seeing currently is a bearish retest in a 4-wave before we have one more final 5-wave impulse back down. And this, just like the Bitcoin dominance, is going to complete the 5 at the 5. And I think we have one more leg down before we can have significant bottoms in these price levels. To me, 33% is just a little bit too high. It's showing weakness short term here as we're retracing straight into resistance. One more leg down for me is ideal, and not only ideal, but I would expect it to happen just based off of a technical analysis perspective. Just based on trading price action, and then combine that with Elliott wave theory, I think that we have one more leg down in this cycle. And then that's pretty realistic to me, because that's also going to be the highs of all three of these previous cycles. And so it's honestly got a lot of data showing to me that we have the possibility and a really high opportunity to be dropping down to this level. And so this is what I'm going to be watching out for, guys. Really, this was all I had to share with you. I don't want to talk too much because my voice is really having a hard time even being able to make this video as is. So this is what I had for you. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more content like the one provided for you here. If you're somebody that's looking for signals, make sure you hit the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Overall, guys, good things are looking, even though we have the potential for one more leg down amongst Bitcoin, amongst the altcoins. It might be a little bit scary, but don't get shaken out. If you're somebody that made some profits on this initial rally up, take some of those profits out and aim to rebuy the coming dip that I'm expecting to see. But overall, guys, good things are coming, and I'm excited to have you guys a part of the team. With all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.